Yeah, just like church.
Exactly.
When you don't behave yourself.
Yeah. It is 1 o'clock on Tuesday, March 16th. This is a regularly scheduled city commission meeting. Madam Clerk, do we have a quorum?
Yes, Mayor.
It is Commissioner Ortiz' turn to do the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please bow with me. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for today, for everything that you've given us. Today we just pray for those who are in service. Help them to lead the way that you guide them, Lord, with heart, with wisdom, with compassion, and with courage. Lord, we pray for all of those young ones who are also looking up to those leaders, Lord. Pray that you give them guidance as well and look up to those leaders. And we just ask that you give us an open mind today with the discussions at hand and the topics, and we just ask that you give us wisdom there as well, Lord. So it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Item 4, approval of the minutes. Any changes to the minutes? Go ahead.
I had one correction on the old business A on the approvals. I think it was Commissioner Dick who moved the motion, and then Commissioner Euler was not mentioned in there for her seconded, so.
Okay. Any other changes or updates? I'd just like to thank Commissioner Dick, Vice Mayor Dick, for the March 10th special meeting and running that meeting. I was unavailable. So on that, with those changes, we'll move forward to public comment. This is a time that we have in the meeting where we provide 30 minutes for anybody to come forward and talk to the commission about any items that are not on the agenda at this time. We give you 5 minutes, and please come forward and state your name if you want to do so. All right, moving on to item 6. It's Proclamation Day, it seems like.
Thank you, Mayor. The governing body is asked to consider and approve a request from Vicki Harshbarger, Mosaic, to allow the mayor to proclaim March 2021 as Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month in Garden City, Kansas.
You want to come forward before
Vicki?
we... Hello.
Hello. Let me get this down so you can understand me. Thank you so much for this opportunity. National Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities Month really gives Mosaic an opportunity to highlight advocacy, which is one of our main goals at Mosaic, is to bring awareness to the needs of those with intellectual disabilities. And here in Kansas, we actually had a advocacy day. It had to be via Zoom. So our chant was a little disconjointed. It's a lot more effective when we're all at the state capitol. But it was IDD, I am not invisible. And we serve a population that often becomes invisible, especially in 2020 when safety became our utmost importance, and people had to stay home, and it was against everything that we promote on a regular basis of getting people connected out in the community. And so there is currently 4,400 people, adults and children in the state of Kansas, that are not receiving services at this time because there's just not the funding for them. And that's one of the big pushes right now in our state legislature, is to get that addressed. And so that leaves people to think about that maybe right here in our community, that we really want to educate people that what that means is that maybe someone you know has always had a loved one live at home, but their parents are aging. Those parents may think that one day when I no longer can take care of my son or daughter, it's no big deal, because at that time I can just go to Mosaic or one of the other providers and say, you know, it's time now for them to move out and into a residential home and you can provide services for them. The waiting list is 8 to 9 years long.
Oh, wow.
So they may be 75 and thinking about this, they may not live long enough to see that happen for their child. And that's what really bothers me, is that people just don't know that you just can't go and get services for your loved one. Or their child may have gone clear through the wonderful school system that we have, and they go to graduate, and they think, no big deal. With just a little bit of support, my child can go on and do specialized classes at college with just a little bit of support from one of these wonderful agencies in our community. But I've never signed them up. And now it's 8 to 9 years later when they can finally receive services and they've lost all those abilities that they received while they were going through school. So these are the things that I thank you so much for bringing this awareness to our community. And if there's anybody listening today that would like to know more about the services that Mosaic provides, we do have online right now, Discover the Possibilities, and my next one is next Thursday, the 25th at noon. Just contact us at Mosaic and we'd be glad to get you that link. And you can hear from wonderful people like Muriel that helps out with those. And Jason is one of our self-advocates, and he was on today's call. And so they came to the day to help receive this wonderful proclamation for National Intellectual and Disabilities Awareness Month. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vicki. Entertain a motion on this proclamation.
Mayor, I move to approve a request from Vicki Harshberger at Mosaic to proclaim March 2021 as Intellectual and Development Disabilities Awareness Month.
There's been a motion by Commissioner Euler. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Ortiz. Any discussion? None being, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That item passed. So I'll just read it from the bench and then we'll go down, I'll go down and we'll get a picture. Let me sign this real quick. So the proclamation reads, whereas the month of March 2021 has been designated the National Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month, NIDDA, in order to celebrate and recognize people with disabilities. And whereas disability is a natural part of the human experience and in no way diminishes the right of people with disabilities to make choices, contribute to society, and experience in full the many blessings of American society. And whereas family members, friends, and the community at large all play a role in supporting people with disabilities as they pursue their dreams. And whereas the goals of the city properly include people with disabilities, realize full access to housing, employment, and the recreation activities which help create productive and satisfying lives, and to live as independently as possible. Now therefore, I, Roy Cessna, Mayor of the City of Garden City, Kansas, do hereby proclaim the month of March 2021 as Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month in the City of Garden City, and call upon the citizens of Garden City to observe the month with appropriate programs and activities. Furthermore, I encourage the citizens of Garden City to seek information from those organizations with expertise in matters concerning developmental disabilities. Signed and sealed the 16th day of March 2021, Roy Cessna, Mayor. Come down and Item B.
Item 6B, the governing body is asked to consider and approve a request from Black Hills Energy to allow the mayor to proclaim March 18th, 2021 as National Natural Gas Utility Workers Day in Garden City, Kansas.
Entertain a motion on this item from one of the commissioners.
Yeah, I move that we approve the request from Black Hills Energy to allow the mayor to proclaim March 18th, 2021 as National Natural Gas Utility Workers' Day in Garden City.
There's been a motion by Commissioner Unruh. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Commissioner Dick. Any discussion on this item? None being, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. This item passes. Do we have anybody here from? Okay, well, I'll just read the proclamation right quick. The proclamation reads as follows: whereas, as a way to recognize natural gas utility workers for their hard work and accomplishments, the American Public Gas Association began recognizing March 18th as Natural Gas Utility Workers' Day. And whereas natural gas utility workers demonstrate exemplary commitment to safety and ensuring natural gas is highly reliable, and whereas natural gas utility workers are essential responders during storms like the recent Arctic weather event and worked to prevent a single Kansas outage, and whereas on Natural Gas Utility Workers' Day and throughout the year, it is important to build awareness and promote education about the vital role of natural gas for economic development and resiliency. Now therefore, I, Roy Cessna, Mayor of the City of Garden City, Kansas, do hereby proclaim March 18th, 2021 as Natural Gas Utility Workers' Day in the City of Garden City, and call upon the citizens of Garden City to recognize the dedication of these workers to our community. Signed and sealed the 16th day of March 2021, Roy Cessna, Mayor. So we'll get that to the appropriate people. Item C.
The governing body is asked to consider and approve allowing the mayor to proclaim March 26, 2021 as Michael Yates Day in Garden City, Kansas. Mayor, if you'd like a break, I can read this one, if you'd like.
First, need a motion on this
Uh,
to approve it.
Probably good.
Who would-
I move that we approve March 26, 2021 as Chief Michael Yates Day.
There's been a motion by Commissioner Dick. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Euler. Any discussion on this item? None being, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That item passed.
All right. I'll read this proclamation. There's a date on the one that's on the screen that's not correct, but we've got the correct date here in front of us and on the original. Whereas Michael Yates began working for the City of Garden City Police Department on September 4th, 1984, and whereas he has served in many roles, including investigator, detective, sergeant, lieutenant, and captain, until he was promoted to Chief of Police on December 15th, 2015. Whereas Chief Yates provided leadership in the department that contributed to the growth and development of staff. And whereas Chief Yates provided leadership in the community that brought the police department and citizens closer together, especially among racial and ethnic minority populations. And whereas Chief Yates provided extraordinary leadership in critical public safety situations throughout his tenure. And whereas Chief Yates will retire from employment with the City of Garden City on March 26, 2021, after 37 years of service. And whereas Chief Yates will long be regarded as one of the hardest working, most dedicated, and most recognizable public servants in Garden City's history. Now therefore, I, Roy Cessna, Mayor of the City of Garden City, Kansas, do hereby proclaim March 22nd, 2021 as Michael Yates Day in Garden City, and urge all citizens to acknowledge and express their sincere appreciation and thanks for his service to his community, and highly commend him for the manner in which he has carried out his responsibilities and duties as Chief of Police for the City of Garden City. Signed and sealed the 16th day of March 2021.
Yeah, before you go down there, can we make some comments about Chief Yates, and then that way, when you go down and take the picture, but
I guess we could, if that's what the commission wants to do.
Well, I want to say thank you, especially to Chief Yates. One thing that's personally really special to me is your work with the Explorers Club, and I know that sometimes that doesn't get mentioned a lot, but it personally impacts me and my family, and so, you know, I think that's not just one of the legacy that you're going to be leaving, but I really just want to say thank you for all the work you've done, and then, you know, having so many great captains and people raised up through the whole system has been really amazing. So I just want to make sure and mention that, so I didn't forget it at the end, but I just want to tell you how much it means to me personally, and also just to our community, that you have been here and been dedicated for 37 years, so thank you.
Well, while we're mentioning, I guess we can, if other commissioners want to do that at this time.
I was gonna do it at the end too, but I can do it now if you want,
Yeah.
Let's do it.
since everybo's here.
While
Well,
we're doing it, and
so I was gonna
everybody's
say, I
here.
mean, there's great leadership. You can see what Chief has done over his 37 years here, but specifically these last few years as actual chief. And if you look at what a legacy is, and where that's epitomized, in that really came to be evident when we had the bomb plot with the community, and there's things that you do that you're a great person for the city and for what job you did. Then there's the things that you didn't make just a local impact, but is going to be something that nationally people are going to look at, and how do we deal with certain situations. And I believe that the work that our department and chief put into the community to make those ties beforehand is going to be one of those things that people 15, 20, 30 years from now, when they're doing their research projects about how police forces can effectively work with communities, this is going to be one of those things they look at. And it's not going to be just something great for Garden City. It's going to be something great for the nation, the work that you did. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I just wanted to also tell a little story kind of in relation to that, because, you know, it's really great to hear all of the things that he did, but this is a story from attending the Tet celebration, which is the Vietnamese New Year. And at the beginning, they announced, you know, the different people who are in the audience, like the mayor and the city manager and other commissioners. But then when they announced Chief Utes, cheering goes on, and they start yelling his name and clapping, and it's like a rock star. And so I think that just goes to show and reinforce exactly what Commissioner Dick was talking about, which is, you know, not just that community policing, but really getting to know all of the different cultures in our community, getting to know people on that level, and to get that kind of recognition, I think, is pretty special. And so that's always something that sticks in my mind when I think about Chief Utes.
Commissioner Ortiz?
So I had this planned out for closing, but this is okay too, because there's no special words that I could say that would kind of let everyone know how I'm feeling. But when I first met Chief Utes, it was humbling, and it was such an honor that I was able to speak to such a high rank with just a regular conversation back and forth. To me, that's true leadership, in seeing someone who's that high up and being able to look up to that person and talk like a regular guy just out on the street. So with all of the things that we've read about and heard about, the leadership that you've come across and the guys that you've trained, and if that was me, I think I would be devastated right now just to lose you, because I'd look up so much to you, and it's just humbling. And the fact that today at the meeting you gave us a chip, and this is such an honor, because you don't get this for existing. This is such a high honor that you get from a high rank that is offered to somebody who's achieved a challenge or achieved a service of a certain kind, even in the military, that they are recognized. And for me, I don't deserve this, to be recognized for anything that I've done for you, or, so to me, I'm gonna cherish this, because it means so much that, I was able to get this from a great guy. I mean, a great leader, a great mentor, and a great role model. So thanks for your 37 years of service, and it really touches me. It touches my heart, so thank you.
Well, Chief, it's been great to have you as a leader in our community. You've done a lot of great things. I've known you personally for many years. We worked on various committees, and I just want to thank you for all your dedicated years of service to this community. You've, it's that Greek saying of you leave in a leadership position, you leave a place better when you leave than you did when you started, and that's where you're leaving Garden City. You're leaving it better than where you came in and started. So I want to wish you well on your new journey in life, and I hope you stick around and still be a part of our community. and I think you will, for a little while longer, so. Go down and we'll get some pictures. And, what I'd like to, well, we'll. Actually, I'd like to have all of the city commissioners come down and Matt as well, be a part of this. Kind of one last picture with the chief. So, yeah. Yeah, this requires some.
Thank you for your time.
All right. Next proclamation.
Item 6D, the governing body is asked to consider and approve allowing the mayor to proclaim March 31, 2021 as Paul Pauli Day in Garden City, Kansas.
Entertain a motion on this item?
Yeah, Mayor, I move that we proclaim March 31st, 2021 as Paul Pauli Day in Garden City, Kansas.
There's been a motion by Commissioner Unruh. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Ortiz. Any discussion on this item? None being, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The proclamation reads, whereas Paul Pauli began working for the City of Garden City Fire Department on April 27th, 1996, and whereas he served as firefighter until he transferred to the Garden City Police Department in 1999, and whereas he served in many roles, including school resource officer, master patrol officer, and senior master patrol officer until he was promoted to sergeant on September 2nd, 2012. And whereas Sergeant Pauli provided leadership within the police department and in the community, and whereas Sergeant Pauli will retire from employment with the City of Garden City on March 31st, 2021, after 25 years of service, and whereas Sergeant Pauli will long be regarded as one of the hardest working, most dedicated, and most recognizable public servants in Garden City's history. Now therefore, I, Roy Cessna, Mayor of the City of Garden City, Kansas, do hereby proclaim March 31st, 2021 as Paul Pauli Day in Garden City, Kansas, and urge all residents and citizens to acknowledge and express their sincere appreciation and thanks for his service to his community, and highly commend him for the manner in which he has carried out his responsibilities and duties as sergeant for the City of Garden City. Signed and sealed the 16th day of March, 2021, Roy Cessna, Mayor. Let me sign this right quick.
I stand down.
I'm just sweating.
Count down for 3. Sorry. 1, 2, 3. All right. Thank you.
Come down, Matt as well, be a part of this. You don't have all the commissioners around you in one setting, you know. After 25 years, it's kind of important.
You're good.
Well, congratulations.
Part of your adult.
Okay, one more. I think this is it. Item, is it E? E.
Yeah.
Mayor
Okay.
and Commissioners, the governing body is asked to consider and approve allowing the mayor to proclaim April 1, 2021 as Richard Collins Day in Garden City, Kansas. Would you you like me to read this one?
Entertain a motion first to,
Mayor, I move to approve or proclaim April 1st, 2021 as Richard Collins Day in Garden City.
there's been a motion by Commissioner Euler. Is there a second?
A second?
Second by Commissioner Dick. Is there any other discussion on this item? None being, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That item passed. Yeah, if you could read this one,
Be
for me,
glad to.
please. Thank you.
The proclamation reads, whereas Richard Collins began working for the City of Garden City Fire Department on November 26, 1989, and whereas he has served in many roles, including firefighter, driver, engineer, and lieutenant until he was promoted to battalion chief on December 28, 2008. And whereas Battalion Chief Collins provided leadership in the department and the community throughout his career, including serving as the department's interim chief in 2019. And whereas Battalion Chief Collins will retire from employment with the City of Garden City on April 1st, 2021 after 32 years of service. And whereas Battalion Chief Collins will long be regarded as one of the hardest working, most dedicated, and most recognizable public servants in Garden City's history. Now therefore I, Roy Cessna, Mayor of the City of Garden City, Kansas, do hereby proclaim April 1st, 2021 as Richard Collins Day in Garden City, Kansas, and urge all citizens to acknowledge and express their sincere appreciation and thanks for his service to his community, and highly commend him for the manner in which he has carried out his responsibilities and duties as Battalion Chief for the City of Garden City. Signed and sealed this 16th day of March, 2021. Roy Cessna, Mayor.
Okay, countdown for 3. 1, 2, 3.
And again, I'd like to have Commissioner Mann come up.
1, 2, 3.
All right.
Item F, the governing body is asked to consider and approve a waiver of the Code of Ordinances, Section 1810, regarding the requirement for sidewalks for the property located at 711 Ida Street. Carol?
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. We have a waiver request here for the sidewalks, which is found in the Code of Ordinances, Section 18-10, that requires sidewalks for every new development or an X amount of $35,000 spent or more on a project. This location, it's a residential location, and Matt, if you can go to the site plan, it might be helpful to have that up when we talk about it. This is a corner lot. If you can go to the next one. Yeah, that zoomed in a little bit. Right now, the lot is vacant. It's 711 Ida Street. So we've got Vinzant on the north, and then Ida is right there, heading on the east side of the lot, going north and south. At this time, the lot is vacant, and this is a replica of what the applicant would like to put on the lot. It's a duplex, and they are requesting to have the sidewalks waived for both the north and the east side of the lot. There are, on the north side on Vinzant, there are no curb and gutters. You can kind of tell by the image, you can see where like the dirt is kind of settled out into the street. There is no elevation change between the level of the street and the level of the lot. So putting in curb and gutter at that location would be very difficult. There is no curb and gutter all the way to the west, to the end of the city limits. None of the properties have curb and gutter, and so putting in a sidewalk in that location wouldn't really be feasible at this point. Staff has gone out and looked at the location putting the sidewalk down on Ida Street is feasible. There is a curb and gutter. At this point, staff does actually recommend that a sidewalk be required to be put in along Ida Street, which is where the duplex will be fronting on Ida Street, so it will be a sidewalk for those residents on that street. The owner of the property is here, Janetta. If you have any questions for her, as I said, the request is for both Vinzant and Ida Street. Staff recommends just Ida Street only, or Vinzant Street receive the waiver request. If you have any questions on any of this, you can certainly ask me, or if you have any questions for Janetta, you can ask her on this.
Well,
Any-
I do want to say thank you for actually building housing in that area. And with that said too, but I'm a huge sidewalk proponent, and so I understand, I did drive by that area, and I didn't realize there wasn't curb and guttering until I got there on the Vinzant Street. And so I can totally understand not doing the sidewalk there. But as far as sidewalk is it due to cost? Is that what you're concerned about, or?
Costs, yeah.
Just, could you come forward and,
Can I say something about that?
Sure.
I'm a kid of a contractor. You know what you guys want. The problem, part of it, with the cost that you asked, I don't know if you guys realize this or not, last 6 months, prices have just skyrocketed. I
Mhm.
mean, way up there. Good 15–20% more. And she started coming and talking about this like 6 months ago, and she's just now getting here. And with this phase, it's like, we tried to, she's on a budget anyway, and I think we're really improving, she's really improving the neighborhood. And I just feel like anything we could do to help keep the cost down a little bit would be great, because it's just really went up there. I don't know if any guys know what the cost has done the last 6 months, but it has really raised.
Mhm.
Did you want to say something?
This is the first time I've seen this. I do like the sidewalks going to the place. That will prevent a lot of mud being entered into the house. I was under the impression that we were gonna run sidewalk north and south.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what staff's recommending. And when we did, this first came up at our plan review meetings that we have. The applicant came in and we were talking about it, and staff actually after that meeting went out to the property, because we talked about the requirement of sidewalks. And then after we went out there, like, oh, it's not looking very good, on Vinzant Street. So that's when we kind of talked it over among staff, and we came to the conclusion that it's just not feasible on Vinzant. However, Ida Street definitely is feasible. But the request was originally for both, so
Right.
that's.
No, I understand.
Any other
So
questions?
you're okay with doing the sidewalk on Ida Street and not on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's good, yeah, because sidewalks in any neighborhood, they are important. I mean, otherwise, or you do walk or run in the street, or, but yeah, thank you for actually asking, and like you said, building in an area that can really use additional housing, so I just want to say thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Be a project.
Yeah, yeah.
Entertain a motion on item F.
Yeah, I move that we approve the waiver for Vinzant Street only.
There's been a motion to approve alternative number 2, approve the waiver for Vincent Street only by Commissioner Hunter. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Dick. Any other discussion on that item? None being, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That item passed. Thank you.
We'll forgo the pictures in the class.
Yeah,
Thank you again.
thank you.
Under report of the city manager, item A, Director of Aviation Powell will present terminal design animations for the Garden City Regional Airport. Rochelle.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Matt, if you could assist me, I believe the animations are on my desktop. Oh, there's 3 of them, so if you want to start with number 1, that one, yeah. Thank you. So this is just a recent animation to show you kind of where we're at of the design. So this is coming into the airport to show you the facility of the new terminal building that we're looking to bid out in the summer and start breaking ground later this fall. So as we traverse through this animation, this is the backgrounds, and that second story is where the event space / public viewing area. The airfield is located as well as the restaurant. Below it is the outbound baggage area. Then the large wall of windows is the hold room where passengers will wait for their flight. You see the jet bridge with a large aircraft. That's actually bigger than the actual aircraft that we have. So.
Yeah. I was like, all right.
Yeah, we'll still have the
Great
PCC
news, yeah.
regional jets. Yep. And then you show the connector building that you guys approved last meeting. That's a renovation of our current, partial renovation of a current terminal space for kind of some of the back of the house spaces. So that's the outside. And I hope you guys don't have motion sickness because some of these angles turn pretty fast. Just a warning, they couldn't really slow it down as I walked through the model. But here, it's experiencing the outbound passenger experience where you would go through the departure doors. Here's coming from more of the main area. That grassy area in front where the generator building's currently located will, the future use will be an outdoor service animal relief area. So that generator building is demolished.
Are you moving, where are you gonna move that?
Yes, the
Where are you gonna
generator
move it?
building, the new generator will be on the north side.
North side
of
there?
the-
Okay.
Yeah, of the terminal. So we're walking through the doors, and you see the ticket counters where you check in, and then a quick left.
That was
It was
a
pretty
quick
fast. Then this is a security queue line, which will have the capability to do a TSA pre-check line, which we currently don't have. And then the other lanes will be for passengers that don't have that TSA pre-check. And then we start entering the security room, which one of the big items there is a full body imager, which everybody's looking forward to. We just don't have the space currently to install that right now, so that'll help the efficiency of the security and screening of passengers. Then we look into the hold room. To the north, you can see upstairs where the restaurant can view down into the hold room, as well as the second gate that we'll have, which will allow ground boarding for flights or charter flights that we have come in. Then we're looking back down to the south where the hold room, in the hold room where passengers are waiting their flight. We have vending and family restrooms to the left. Further down the hall, we have men's, women's restroom, and then another service animal relief area inside the secured area, which is a federal regulation. And then we're looking through the exit doors. After you get off the airplane, when you're inbound to our airport, you'll walk through these doors and you'll see the baggage carousel to your right, and then some meter greeter space, and then the car rentals to the right that zoomed by real fast. And then the third animation kind of shows a little bit more of the terminal and the upstairs.
So in that relief area for the animals in the holding, is that kind of gonna be like a grassy?
Yes, it'll be like AstroTurf with
Sure.
drainage.
Okay.
That passengers who have animals, they can wash down the area to provide sanitary, and just so you,
Sure.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so up here is the restaurant area and where you can look down into the hold room. So if you want to meal before you go on your flight, you can kind of follow the procedure there. This is looking back at the north, kind of in the non-secured area where you can see the ticket counters at the very north end of the terminal. The stairs to the upstairs level is on the right. Over to your left, you have some passenger waiting area plus an elevator and the elevator to go upstairs, I guess. So it doesn't go down. As we reverse upstairs, we have a little nook to the right that passengers can sit and wait for their flight there, or they can come up here. There's additional waiting space up here, as well as some additional restrooms, and then you can see the event space in the restaurant back further in the building. So this just kind of shows you a view of the terminal. As you guys looked through these animations, we did see that feature wall. We're still working with the photographs that were submitted to properly identify good photographs that will be featured on that wall.
Michelle, I had a question. I don't know if this isn't related to this so much as the terminal, but more of, several people have asked about whether vaccines are going to be required and
Yeah,
upcoming, or
great
I was curious about that, and I didn't know,
Yeah.
and I didn't have any.
Yeah, good question. We're getting a lot of phone calls. So as far as the airport, we do not require vaccinations. The airline does not require vaccinations at this point either. It's more of the destination you're going. So we're recommending passengers inquire with their local agencies on their destination to determine what COVID test is required, because there is a difference between the tests that are being required and if it's required or not. The airline does have some information on their website, but it changes so much. It's more for international travel. So if it's domestic travel in the United States, we suggest contacting local authorities of your destination to see what is required as far as vaccinations and testing prior to travel.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's kind of confusing, and I knew you were going to be here today. I wanted to ask that question.
Yeah, I appreciate that question.
Looks really good. Any other questions for
It looks
Michelle?
amazing.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item under Manager's Report, Assistant City Manager Cunningham will provide an update on a fire department organizational study RFQ process and requests Mayor Cessna appoint a city commissioner to the consultant interview committee.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. The item that's before you this afternoon is in regards to a fire department organizational study. As you all are aware, I started working with the fire department on December 2nd of 2020. That relationship kind of developed over about a 6-week period where I met individually with different shifts and then started having individual meetings with members from the department, and we began discussing, the previous fire chief and I began discussing the need for an organizational study. As far as I'm aware, there's never been one done in the fire department. And so I think it's really ripe for figuring out where we are and where we're going. Myself and an 8-person committee that is made up of mostly firefighter 1 and firefighter 2 individuals created the items on the list for the RFP that they wish to have reviewed by a consultant. We would like to make that live today with responses due back on the 29th and interviews of these consultants done on April 1st to come back before you for a recommendation of who we would go with on April 6th. Hopefully a finalized contract by April 14th, and finally it on during your second meeting for conclusion of that contract. The way that we initially, when we started talking about this, I wasn't sure exactly how we were going to pay for it because it was unbudgeted. However, as you guys just went through, Rick Collins is retiring, and as you are aware, Chief Beatty has resigned his position. So between those two positions and the ability for us to just have some interims fill those, myself included, that is going to save us some money and afford us the opportunity to be able to do this and not have to budget any additional funds for it. So I think it's a good time. I think it's really important that we have this roadmap for whoever becomes the next fire chief. And I also think that the department is really ready to see where they're doing things really well and where they could improve.
Mayor, I
And-
think one of the elements was a
Yeah.
committee
Yes.
assigning, as we traditionally do, someone to the.
Right, and I forgot to talk to the commissioners about this earlier, but would any of the commissioners like to be on this committee? I know there's some of you already on other committees.
I mean, I would be glad to serve it.
That would be great.
Okay,
Okay, I'll be in touch. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item C, the Parks and Recreation Director, Aaron Stewart, will provide an update on the Parks and Recreation Master Plan RFQ process and request Mayor Cessna appoint a member of the City Commission to the Consultant Interview Committee.
Afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. As you know, we've talked about this master planning for Parks and Recreation and the RFQ that was sent out. We have the deadline passed at 10 a.m. this morning. We received 6 vendors or
Congratulations.
Wow,
6
that's great.
firms. So what I'm here today is, just like Jennifer, ask for somebody to serve on that committee to review those RFQs and be part of the selection process. Our team's a little bigger. It's 11 people, 2 advisory board members, Park and Tree Board, Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, a commissioner, and then some Parks and Recreation staff from Golf Course Zoo and Rec Department, Parks Department, and some other city departments.
So I spoke with Commissioner Dick, and he agreed to be on this review process, so
Okay.
we'll have him on there, okay?
Excellent. I'll be in touch soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item D, Todd Dumler, project manager with McCown Gordon, will present an update on the Garden Rapids at the Big Pool construction. Todd?
Well, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. Do you
Please
have
be here.
animation too, hopefully?
I'm sorry?
Do you have any animation or anything? on this?
We have an
Hopefully.
attachment. Do you,
Oh,
do you all
even
have
better.
that attachment with
Just
you?
gonna weave a picture with his words.
There you go, yeah,
Well, he probably could do that.
yeah.
He probably could.
Yeah, it was
We
really
don't have
nice.
one.
No, I was just giving him a hard time.
It wasn't in the past.
No.
If you give me just a second, I can probably send this to you, Matt.
Okay.
What's your email address? I'm sorry?
While Todd's looking for that, I'll just call your attention to the other reports that are on, under
Sure.
report of the city manager. And would note that, item H, presentation of the police department organizational study action plan, you all had a pre-meeting on that, this morning. And it'll probably be the last time that that's, presented. We'll certainly keep that on file but that'll, it'll sort of mark the conclusion of getting through those items. And so anybody in the public interested in looking through that at a little bit more detail, or a little bit more attention, we call your attention to the, being able to get on our website, garden-city.org, and then, whoa, somebody's taking over my computer. You'd be able to get on our website, call it the agenda
Sure.
packet, and be able to go through and look at the, where that study stood as of March
I was-
16th.
I was curious on that, Matt, if anyone was coming back from McGrath, or is it basically their work with us done?
No,
and
their
so-
work with us is done, and
Okay.
so this was sort of a staff assignment for the department to report back to the commission, the study that you commissioned, and you received a to-do list, that over the last year, the department has reported back to you as to where they're doing on that, where they're at on that to-do list.
Great.
Okay, Todd.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you for
Appreciate
making it fast. I ran out of things to stall with.
Well, good deal. Just a progress update for the Garden Rapids of the Big Pool project, as I'm sure everyone's seen. Structure started going up here towards the end of the first week of March, and as of about right now, we have 2 slides fully installed.
Oh,
So
wow.
Yeah.
the blue tube slide and the orange body slide are both installed. So we're super excited to see some vertical progress. That's a big milestone, and we're excited about it, and I think everyone else is too. We've had the sandblaster there prepping the surface in the competition pool for paint. They are now installing the stainless steel gutter system. So if you scroll down a little bit, you can kind of see just a profile of what that stainless steel gutter looks like, and then they pressure grout underneath it, so it's nice and solid in there. So pretty interesting process to see it go in. We've had a significant amount of fill material, both LVC and pea gravel, brought in over the last couple weeks. So we're going to be wrapping up bringing all the backfill and all the grading here in the next 2 weeks. And then we just poured our first section of concrete deck this morning as well. They should be bull floating it right now. So, we've also been hard at work inside the buildings. We've got all of the structural walls are in place inside the existing bathhouse, and tomorrow we'll be doing round 2 of masonry partitions. And I wanted to include those because I thought those were 2 unique features. The bench supports, they're stainless steel, so you never have to worry about them, but they're also integral into the wall. So the masonry wall will actually encapsulate all those supports. So
Oh, wow.
really sturdy feature. We think that's kind of a neat deal on there. And then also want to include another picture of the rough end. We're working with Tetro, on this, and they've done a great job. But you can see they've prefabricated a lot of this stuff in their shop. It's just faster, neater, cleaner. And just wanted to kind of show you guys how much rough-in is actually in there. There's a significant amount of work that's gone on thus far. And then in the administration building, a little bit less work, electrical and mechanically, plumbing-wise. We've got that one painted on the inside, so it's a little ways ahead of schedule, so we're excited about that. And we'll be putting on some air barriers starting after we get through this next snow or rainstorm or whatever it's going to be. So we've been really excited about just about the progress that we've made since the February weather incident. And then just also included just an overall shot from the TrueLook camera. I hope everybody's utilizing that, because I do. I think it's pretty neat to look at. But that was taken last week, right after they poured the slab inside the 2 chemical rooms in there. So all that slab's in place, and that the filter building will be painted out except for the final coat on the inside after today. So we're excited about that as well. A couple other notable items. The overall project is on schedule, and our pay applications, you guys have been fantastic about turning those around quickly. That just helps everybody. Getting paid promptly is a really important deal, so thank you for that. That makes my job a lot easier. We did have the February weather delay, which I think everyone was aware of. We knew that was coming, and we started working with all the trade partners. We resequenced some events, resequenced some of the schedule on the site. We brought in a crane to help install that, which freed up the entire north end of the project, because now they're not driving all over the place to install those slides. So for some pretty minimal cost, we were able to stay on schedule. We do have some acceleration costs and some overtime with that. So what we did is we did have stated owner contingency and stated construction contingency. Excuse me. And we hadn't spent a whole lot out of the construction contingency yet. We wanted to be a good steward of that money. And at the appropriate time, we wanted to release some of that back to the city. So what we did, and Matt, you'll probably see this in a couple days, there's a change order coming through, and it releases $90,000 of construction contingency, takes 70 of that, sets it aside for acceleration costs, crane, all of that, and then credits $20,000 back to the owner's contingency fund. And so all of those all of those contingencies, if they're not used, they go back to the owner group 100%. So we were really excited about that as well. Just the whole team has done a good job of managing the budget, from the design team to Matt, Jennifer, Aaron, to the entire construction team. So, excuse me, we're really proud of that as well. So as of right now, we have that February weather allowance set aside. We have roughly $90,000 left in construction contingency, and about $22,000 left in owner contingency. So we know that we're going to spend some of that, but we do have those funds available, and I think we're excited about the position the budget is in as well. So yeah, overall on budget, on schedule, and we're excited to be going vertical.
Yeah. Well, I know the community's excited. I was at one of the schools reading a proclamation, and the principal wanted me to go around and visit the classrooms, the mayors and the buildings. So I was talking to the kids about, the new aqua park that we have going up, and man, they were just like fascinated and excited, and it's like, when can we go? So I think the sooner we get it open, it's just going to be a great addition to our community. And thank you for all that you're doing and making this a reality in Garden City.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. And if you're watching the camera, the site is going to start changing every single day now. There's going to be another piece we're out of the underground and into all the show work, so.
We're getting lots of views from everywhere all over, so I don't think this is just a Western Kansas. It's really, the
Yeah,
comments have come from all over the place. Even Colorado.
It's
Jennifer,
fun to hear.
Even Colorado.
I know the varsity and junior varsity baseball team is really impressed with the speed of construction, so.
well, thank you, thank you. We're, like I said, we're grateful for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Todd.
guys.
Thank
Take care.
you.
We've been through the reports. I think under meetings of note, you'll see a meeting that is related to the comprehensive plan. So March 23rd, comprehensive plan and downtown plan public meeting. It'll be held virtually at 6 p.m. And so we'll definitely be pushing some information about how folks participate in that if they're interested. I think we're ready for the appropriation ordinance. If approved, it would be ordinance number 2527-2021A.
Mayor, I move to approve the appropriation ordinance number 2527-2021A.
There has been a motion by Commissioner Ortiz. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Euler. Any discussion on that item? None being, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That item passed.
Item 10A, the governing body is asked to consider and approve the renewal of the Rural Housing Incentive District Resolution, which outlines the policy and use of RHIDs within the city of Garden City for 2021. And if approved, this resolution would be number 2872-2021. Melissa?
Afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. This is our annual renew that we bring before you every year about the policy and use of the program within the city. This incentive tool has been used since 2012. Currently, we have 16 subdivisions that have utilized this program to install infrastructure, resulting in nearly 368 housing units being added to our community over the last years. Just last year, 61 of our 75 homes that were built here in Garden City were built within our HID developments. We anticipate in this year that 5 developments will be coming before you to use the RHID program. This will include Chapel Heights 4th Edition, Sunset Terrace Phase 1, Lost River Phase 1, Northborough 2nd Edition, and the Hawkeye development. Every year in preparation for the annual renewal, we do go before our taxing entities to give them an update about housing and how we are using this program here within the city. This year, we did have a new taxing entity that was added, which is the West Plains Extension District. This is an educational program taxing entity and covers Finney County and Scott County. And we did present at their February board meeting and explained our program, how we utilized it, and are glad to bring them on as part of our partners in providing this program here in the city. The alternatives before you are, you may approve the renewal, you may approve the renewal with changes, or you may not approve the renewal. Staff recommends alternative 1. With this, if you should approve it, there are no financial obligations to the city by renewing this resolution.
Entertain a motion on this item.
I move that we approve Resolution 2872-2021.
There's been a motion by Commissioner Dick, second by Commissioner Unruh. Any discussion on this item? None being, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That item passed.
Item B, the governing body is asked to consider and approve an ordinance rezoning from agricultural district to neighborhood shopping district, the property generally located at 2720 North Campus Drive in Garden City. If approved, this would be ordinance number 2894-2021. Carol?
Good afternoon. Just writing down that number so I don't forget. So we do have a rezone request before you. This rezone is the property of the Turning Point Church of the Nazarene. They are wanting to rezone their property so that they can put in a child care center in their church. Right now, they're zoned ag, which does not allow childcare centers. We assume that it's been zoned ag since the beginning and it just never got zoned. The comprehensive plan has the possibility, future land use possibility is either commercial or residential. The applicants have chose commercial C1, which is one of the lesser severities. It's a neighborhood commercial district, so that they could put in an electric message board in the future, which has a little bit lesser restrictions than if you put in an electronic message board in a residential development. So that's what they've chosen to go with, to rezone to C1. We did bring this before the Planning Commission. Their recommendation was to approve the rezone. Staff does recommend approval. It does fit with the use. Churches are allowed in every district that we have, so there isn't a problem with that. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Yeah, maybe before the vote, I need to step down.
Okay. Just note that Commissioner Henry has stepped down from the bench. Entertain a motion on this item.
I move to approve ordinance number 2894-2021.
There's been a motion by Commissioner Euler. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Dick. Any discussion on this item? None being, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Thank you.
That item passed. Thanks, Carol.
Item 10C, the governing body is asked to consider and approve a resolution establishing a date and time for a public hearing regarding the Rural Housing Incentive District for Chapel Heights, 4th edition. If approved, this would be resolution number 2873-2021. Melissa?
Mayor,
Hello.
Commissioners. We come before you with the Chapel Heights 4th. They are ready to move forward in the RHID process and bring forth a resolution to set their public hearing to approve their RHID development. The proposed time is for April 20th, 2021 at 1:30 p.m. We did provide a preliminary copy of the development plan and agreement, and which will be considered at that time as well. This area has already been approved by the state, and this is the second step they need to take to approve their district. This is generally located at North Jenny Barker Road and Mary Street, and is a continuation from Chapel Heights 1st and 2nd edition to fill out the rest of the residential development. The alternatives before you are you may approve the resolution or you may not approve the resolution. Staff recommends alternative 1. As a fiscal note, the developer does privately fund the infrastructure costs, so there is no financial obligation on the city.
Entertain a motion on item C.
I move to approve resolution 2873-2021.
There's been a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Euler. There was a motion made by Commissioner Dick.
I was going to ask one thing, just
Sure.
really quick. So RHID has 15 years to pay off the infrastructure, right? And looking at the schedule here, it's about a 5-year payoff, it looks like, if you, good, and that's correct, just because of the value of the houses and stuff like that.
And
Sorry.
a lot of the backbone's already been put
Right.
in, which is usually, so by the time you get to 3rd edition, 4th edition, not that that would always be the case, but I would say it would mostly be the case that that 1st edition is the one
toughest,
that is the
right.
toughest to make financially work.
Right.
After that, if you've got a big tract of land,
Yeah.
it becomes more affordable to build
It's just,
out.
yeah, it's just really impressive that it's a 5-year payoff to pay off that RHID, yeah.
Any other discussion on this item? None being, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That item passed.
10D, the governing body is asked to consider and approve an ordinance rezoning property from agricultural district to single-family residential district for property generally located at the 3100 block of North Campus Drive, Garden City, Kansas. And if approved, this would be ordinance number 2895-2021.
Welcome back, Carol.
This is the Carol and Melissa show.
Yeah, it is.
Hope you're being entertained now.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got another rezone here. This actually is for the first phase of the Lost River subdivision development that's going in north on campus, just south of the Prairie View Acres development. This first section will be R1. The zone is changing from ag to R1. These will be single-family homes. There will be 37 of them. It will mirror the development that's just to the south of it, basically just the same thing replicated. As you know, previously we've talked about what's coming up with this subdivision. We're hoping for 400 plus units, residential units. There will be other types of units as well, multifamily, coming up in the future. But at this point, they're ready to do that first phase. So that's what this rezone is. The comprehensive plan does show that single-family homes is what's desired in this area. So it does match that. The Planning Commission did recommend approval. Staff does recommend approval. And if you have any questions on this, I'd be happy to answer.
Entertain a motion on this item.
I move, oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I move to approve ordinance number 2895-2021.
Commissioner Ortiz made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Euler made the second. Any discussion on this item? None being, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That item passed.
Thank you.
Item E, the governing body is asked to consider and approve the Pheasant Valley PUD plan and an ordinance rezoning property from R2 Single Family Residential to R2 Single Family Residential with a planned unit development for property generally located at North Winter Street and Shortgrass Street, Garden City, Kansas. If approved, this would be ordinance number 2896-2021. Melissa.
Alrighty. This is our last item we bring before you. So, Rob Martin of Matchless Development LLC is requesting to rezone this property. This property was actually platted in 2004, and at that time, when it was platted, it was rezoned to R-2 Single Family Residential. They did begin development in 2005, with some of the infrastructure being installed, but development stopped in 2007. The property is located in the floodplain, which does not impact the capability to rezone the property, and the developer is aware of the requirements to build within a residential development within the floodplain. This did go before the governing planning commission twice. In October, at that time, they were thinking to move into the R-3 multifamily zoning, which would up the density and provide more housing types available. And the Planning Commission did not approve this request and instead instructed the developer to work with us to find a more amicable solution. So when we went before them a second time, we brought forth the idea to use the PUD zoning classification to assist them to maximize development within their property. And the Planning Commission reviewed this in January. Members of the public attended both hearings, and a lot of the concerns in the first hearing was that about the housing within the development being in the floodplain, and the staff, including the developer and surveyor, addressed these concerns about how development can occur. And the developer has worked with an architect to find a unique solution in which the garages will be all on the first floor, and then the living spaces will be raised to meet the requirements under the floodplain regulations. Another of the concerns brought forth by the public was the type of housing that will be built here. Mr. Martin is proposing to build single-family attached homes, so they will share a zero lot line, but they'll each have their own property. And the finishes that he proposes will match the neighboring characteristics of the surrounding neighborhoods. And so that addressed a lot of the concerns we had at that planning commission. In June of 2020, we made some amendments to the PUD zoning classification to provide better guidance and more of a consistent policy. And I did attach that for reference, the PUD requirements. And so this will be one of our first PUDs that we bring forth for you with our new zoning code requirements. And part of that requirement with the PUD classification, we've requested the developer to provide a PUD plan which provides further outlines and explanation of what they intend to do within this development. That includes setback requirements, styles of housing they'll be doing, parks, how those will be laid out, and things of that nature. For this rezone request, it will be unique before you that we'll have to do it in 2 motions where you'll approve the PUD plan and then approve the rezone. As I said, the Planning Commission recommended approval of this in 2 motions. They also recommended approval of the PUD plan. They had 2 conditions that they wanted us to look at. And under the article of the zoning district, the planning director has the ability to move forward that plan once those revisions are made. And those revisions have been made. It was voted with 6 yeas and 1 nay, with 7 members being present, both the PUD plan and the rezone request. So for the alternatives before you for the Pheasant Valley PUD plan, you may approve the PUD plan as submitted, or you may approve it with changes, or you may not approve the PUD plan. For the rezone request, you may approve the rezoning ordinance, or you may not approve the rezoning ordinance. If you do not approve the PUD plan, then the request for the rezone will sit vacant. Staff recommends alternative 1 for both motions, and I can answer any questions.
So Melissa, the correct first action would be on the PUD plan. That's not an ordinance. That's just a simple motion, second, and majority approval.
Yes, sir.
So, go ahead.
So I have some questions. So I appreciate, so from what I understand with this innovative and creative solution, that's really alleviated most of the residents, because I did read through their comments, that's alleviated most of the residents into multifamily now. They aren't concerned about property value going down, but instead, so this will take care of that? I just want to make sure.
Yeah, the housing type that they're proposing is actually single family attached.
Yeah, it looks very nice.
So when you look down the street, it'll actually just look like larger single family homes there. It does increase the density slightly, but nothing more than what the R2 zoning district allows already.
So entertain a motion on the PUD plan.
I move that we approve the PUD plan as submitted.
There's been a motion by Commissioner Dick.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Unruh. Is there any other discussion on that item? None being, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That item passed. Now for the ordinance, if we want to make a motion on that.
Is it the rezoning?
Or the rezoning.
The reason.
Well, the rezoning, yes. Well.
Which is done by ordinance.
Which is done by ordinance.
I move
Yeah.
that we approve ordinance 2896-2021.
There's been a motion by Commissioner Dick. Is there a second on that?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Euler. Any other discussion on that item? None being, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That item passed.
Thank you, Melissa. Item 11A, the governing body is asked to consider extending or allowing to expire ordinance number 2884-2020, requiring the wearing of face coverings in the city of Garden City. At the November 17th, 2020 regular meeting, the governing body approved ordinance 2884-2020, requiring face coverings in the city of Garden City. The ordinance was designed to expire in 30 days or be extended for an additional 30 days by a majority vote of the governing body prior to expiration. The Finney County Board of Commissioners adopted Resolution 2020-07 on November 23rd, 2020. The resolution did not apply within the city limits of Garden City because the city of Garden City had a face covering ordinance. The county resolution expired on December 31st, 2020. The city ordinance was extended for an additional 30-day periods on December 15th, January 5th, and February 2nd. If the governing body approves an additional 30-day extension, the matter would be considered again at the April 6th City Commission meeting. The Community Health Advisory Board met on Tuesday, March 9th, and voted 7-2 to recommend the City Commission extend the face covering requirement an additional 30 days. Your alternatives are to approve an additional 30-day extension to ordinance 2884-2020, or to not approve a 30-day extension to ordinance number 2884-2020. I believe there's some folks here that are interested in speaking to this item.
Who wants to go first?
I guess it's health
That-
department.
There you go.
Do you have the PowerPoint by chance?
I do. I suppose you'd want us to play that.
That would be fantastic.
No, no,
Oh,
that's
there we
not
go.
it.
Yeah.
Have you seen the
Yeah,
airport yet, by the way?
Yeah,
I've seen that one.
While you're here? Okay.
It's really fast.
Have you seen this?
That one.
yeah.
That one does.
Oh, there we go.
It might make you a little woozy,
Yeah.
like a little fast turns there.
Yeah, I don't like that.
There might be an animation button on there.
All right. There you go, Colleen.
Perfect, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you about the continuation of COVID-19 in Finney County. I'm excited to report progress in our overall numbers and provide an update regarding vaccine distribution in Finney County. Next slide. Oh yeah, you're already there. The data I'm sharing with you is our situation report, which we released yesterday evening. There are currently 18 active cases. There are 5,993 total positive cases and 10,689 total negative cases. 2 individuals are hospitalized at St. Catharines with COVID-19. 49 Finney County residents have passed away due to the virus. We're so grateful for our community and what they have done to slow the spread of COVID-19 and ask our residents to play an active part in keeping our numbers low. Wear a mask in public places, wash your hands with soap and water, and regularly sanitize frequently used items. And then next slide. So in the subsequent slides, you'll see the trend over the past year from March 2020 until now in hospitalizations, positive cases, the number of those tested and positives superimposed over the cumulative case count, and the positivity rate. You can show the next slide too. It is reasonable to expect a potential increase or peak in cases that can follow a similar trend to the peak in cases during the spring of 2020. COVID-19 testing numbers last fall were consistently well above 300 total tested each week. February of this year, we're testing approximately 160 a week. Current trends are approximately 100 or below. Here's also a copy of the newly released guidance for vaccinated Kansans that outlines suggested public health measures to continue to implement. Hand this out. In this handout, KDHE released that when you're not in your private home, to protect yourself and others, continue to follow all public health measures, including wearing a mask as outlined in this document, stay 6 feet away from others, avoid crowds, avoid poorly ventilated spaces, wash your hands, use hand sanitizer with at least 60% alcohol, and then when you're in your home, you may gather with other fully vaccinated people in small groups without masks or distancing, and you may gather with unvaccinated people as long as the unvaccinated people are from a single household and are at low risk for developing severe disease. So I brought these recommendations of this is what KDHE is also pushing out in recommendations to consider as we are also pushing out vaccines. Next slide, please. There's also the positive cases superimposed with the tested versus positive, as you can kind of see. And then the cumulative with the percent positive per week. So you see there we've kind of leveled out. There's been obviously a very drastic decrease. And then, I'm sorry, Matt, can you go back to the, sorry, that one right there. So you look at last spring, April and May, we saw that initial peak. Significantly decreased through the summer months, and then we had that increase last fall. Then you approved the mask covering mandate in November, and we saw that steady decrease. KDHE is also expecting at least a peak in cases this spring that could follow a similar trend. So it's kind of on the horizon of, we're not sure for sure what to expect, but with spring break, increased traveling, we're expecting a potential peak in cases here coming this spring. Okay, I think on to the number slide. Yep, there we go. We're currently in phase 2 of the vaccination plan, and enrollment is currently open to several organizations or fields of Finney County. Some of the newly added fields, we added this week Sunflower, Wheatland Electric, and Black Hills Energy employees, grocery stores employees, and then agriculture. Some of those were also last week, but we've kind of carried them over into this week. That's in addition to all of the other eligible forms that or eligible fields, that have been previously announced. You can find a comprehensive list on our website at finneycounty.org/COVID hub. We'll announce the eligible populations as we navigate through the phases of plan, and we'll continue to release this information via several communication methods, which include our website, Facebook page, local news media, and radio. Phase 2 has a very broad range of eligible populations, and we're hoping to move through the phase quickly as we receive additional supply. To increase accessibility to our community, we have opened up walk-in times at the fairgrounds as of Monday of last week. We'll release these hours the following week. Typically it's on a Friday before the following week, as it depends on inventory and staffing. We'll also announcing soon walk-in availability for one Saturday a month and evening walk-in times one day a week, such as a 5 p.m. and after on a Wednesday. Want to thank all of our residents for their patience as we work to vaccinate residents as quickly as our supply allows. There's a potential that we will add additional eligible populations at the end of this week to begin next week, depending upon registration and interest from the public, with current eligible populations and as vaccine supply allows. Thus far, we have received an overwhelming amount of support from our community, as well as positive feedback on the process of the Finney County Fairgrounds. We want to thank the community for their support, as well as our community partners in supporting the staffing of the site.
So I have a couple of questions on this slide.
Hold
Yes.
on.
Are you
Are you
Let's go
done?
right into that.
Go ahead.
You want me to go? Okay. As of today, the Mass Vaccination Clinic has given over 8,421 COVID-19 vaccines. Approximately 6,402 of those are first doses. The state is currently calculating approximately 19% of Kansans have received a vaccine thus far. We anticipate that our vaccine numbers continue to steadily increase as we receive additional doses from the state and vaccinate individuals at the Mass Vaccination Clinic. So last Thursday and Friday, we went out to Tyson. We vaccinated just over 1,500 employees at the on-site vaccination clinic in collaboration with Tyson staff and support from the National Guard. We vaccinated 1,159 employees on Thursday and approximately 347 on Friday. This is not an all-inclusive list of Tyson employees that have been vaccinated thus far. We've had over 250 Tyson employees who have come to our mass vaccination clinic at the fairgrounds and will return to Tyson on April 1st and 2nd to provide second doses to Tyson. Question?
Yeah, so on this slide, I just want to make sure I understand. So
Sure.
are you saying that, so total vaccinations, so people totally vaccinated with first and second doses or the single dose, which number is that one?
So you're looking at first dose, 6,402, then the difference between we should have a second dose number on here so it makes sense for you. About 2,000 essentially are second dose fully vaccinated.
Okay.
We've given over 8,421 vaccines thus far. That does include first and second dose.
Have you had to turn away a lot of people that you didn't have vaccines for, or has there been adequate vaccines for people who want the vaccine?
We haven't turned away anyone that is currently eligible. If there are people that are outside of current eligibility terms, yes. But we offer them either where to find eligibility terms and how they're announced, or set them up for an appointment if they're on that next tier of eligibility. We fill out an enrollment form. There's a variety of things that we can do to offer that suggestion, or tell them where to keep an eye out if we're unsure of when that next phase would be announced.
I do have one other question if you. Well,
Is it on this or
yeah,
on the
it's this.
vaccine?
Yeah.
Okay.
So are employers requiring their staff to be vaccinated, or is it still on a volunteer basis?
I haven't heard of anyone requiring. I've heard some employers incentivizing, but I haven't heard required yet. In the next couple of pictures, There's a couple of pictures of our mass vaccination clinic. This is one of our nurses preparing vaccines. Our setup at the Finney County Fairgrounds in the exhibition building. This is the observation area. The tan barriers in the back are the vaccine stations. Supply area, there's a little plugged in cooler back there, so it's a refrigerated storage for our vaccines there on site in our drawing station. Community resources table, so we have a variety of pamphlets for community resources, free hand sanitizer for anybody that comes through. This is a couple of pictures from the Tyson onsite that we did last week, Thursday and Friday. This was a registration area where employees would come through. We double check paperwork, make sure lot numbers were on stickers, and then sent them through the 2 doors there into the mass vaccination area. This is the other side looking out. It's in the cafeteria extra edition that they just did. And then these vaccine sites. So there's a total of 12 sites there. All the way on the left is the first station. That's a draw station. 12 vaccine stations. And then in the middle you see that green tarp. That's a first aid station for any anaphylactic, I'm dizzy, I don't feel good type of situations. So you can go ahead and go there. Observation area that was set up, so to wait 15 minutes, typically after the vaccine 30 minutes if they've had a previous anaphylactic reaction. And then one-way traffic through, so they'd come in and then exit out. So to increase accessibility for patients, we're offering walk-in times in addition to appointments for vaccines at the Finney County Fairgrounds. Walk-in times are posted weekly depending upon supply and staffing. If residents prefer to have scheduled time versus the walk-in, we ask that they navigate to our page, the COVID Hub, and look for the link for the scheduling platform to take pressure off our phone lines. We do have 6 communication methods that we have opened up to allow residents to register or contact. All of that information can be found on our COVID Hub. We're incredibly grateful for our county and community partners who have made the operation of this site successful. Thank you so much for your time and continued support. I am happy to answer any questions that Commissioner may have.
Commissioners have any other questions?
The site is extremely well run, just really well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, I'm Bridget Clark. I'm the Health and Wellness Specialist for St. Catherine Hospital, and I also serve on the Community Health Advisory Board. Today, I would like to talk about a missing component that is not emphasized enough in our effort to fight this virus. So in addition to washing hands, wearing a mask, and social distancing, our immune system plays a vital role. It protects your body from harmful substances, germs, and cell changes that can make you ill. According to the National Institute of Health, our immune system protects us against viruses. While you may not be able to completely avoid getting sick, a strong and healthy immune system can be your first line of defense. Focusing on your immune health can also help take the edge off your symptoms if you do get sick. It's important to know that a strong immune system will not prevent you from contracting COVID-19. However, it will help your body fight the virus more effectively if contracted. Infectious disease experts say if you're getting vaccinated, it can't hurt to boost your immune system beforehand. Furthermore, having a weakened immune system may increase your risk of severe illness from COVID-19. The food we eat plays a big role in our immunity. In terms of boosting our immune system and helping us prevent illness, the following nutrients can help. Vitamin C can help prevent upper respiratory illnesses. Studies have shown that consuming vitamin C can help decrease the length of illness by 1 to 2 days. However, since vitamin C is a water-soluble vitamin, overconsumption of vitamin C will only result in your body getting rid of the excess amount via your urine. The best way to get your vitamin C is from whole foods. Excellent dietary sources of vitamin C are citrus fruits, bell peppers, and broccoli. Another nutrient to highlight is zinc. It is a natural antioxidant present in whole foods. You can also get zinc as a dietary supplement. Various research students have shown that taking zinc during the very start of a cold or a flu may help shorten how long you're down for the count. I would argue that the same research would apply for other viruses. Excellent sources of zinc are spinach, oysters, wheat germ, pumpkin seeds, and dark cocoa. which is dark chocolate, right? Another wonderful nutrient is selenium. It is a mineral that's naturally present in soil. The nutritional value of all plant-based sources depends heavily on the soil in which they were grown. Selenium is essential for our bodies. It supports the immune system. What this means is that if your diet is short on selenium, your immune system may not perform at its best. Excellent dietary sources of selenium is Brazil nuts, seafood, whole wheat bread, and mushrooms. Nutrition is a critical component of your immune response. Just like poor nutrition can deteriorate your immune system, quality nutrition can be the foundation for your health. A balanced diet can enhance your ability to resist infections and remain healthy. Please do not rely on supplements alone. They are called supplements for a reason. They're not suitable for a balanced diet. The best approach to preventing illness is to eat a diet that is high in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, heart-healthy fats, and lean proteins to provide your body with the best variety of nutrients. Immunity is about more than just your diet. Exercising is going to help you in every single way that health can be measured. Physical activity is associated with better immune function and lower levels of anxiety and stress. The physical activity guidelines for Americans recommend 150 to 300 minutes per week of moderate intensity aerobic physical activity and 2 sessions per week of strength training. If you're not there yet, that's okay. Move more. Every active minute counts. In times of stress and uncertainty, it becomes even more important to engage in strategies that can help manage stress, such as regular exercise, healthy meals, relaxation, mindfulness, and self-care. Each of these health behaviors will help your immune system. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did any of the commissioners have a question?
Oh, yeah.
Just wondering.
Good information.
But no, good information.
Yeah, any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to speak on this topic?
Steve Carlin with USD 457. I didn't really intend to speak, but I did share, as I have a number of times, kind of our current data that we've been utilizing within the school district. Our numbers are probably better now than they have been all year. Our goal continues to be to have students at school for face-to-face learning as normally as possible while taking reasonable steps to keep everybody safe. We're certainly happy that things are looking good right now and really hoping that we can finish the remainder of the school year that way. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Carlin, I have a question. I know that you've shortened spring break this year to 2 days. Is that in response to the COVID?
I thought you wanted us to do that, Mr. Sorry, Commissioner.
I love spring break when it wasn't.
No, actually, if you remember, we started late this year.
Okay.
And there's an 1,116-hour requirement that we have to meet with the state. And so as we put together our calendar, with the late start, the choice became less time at Christmas, less time at spring break, or going into the summer. And so the lesser of the evils was a shorter spring break.
I knew you probably had said that, but someone asked me, well, they did it because of COVID, and I said, I didn't remember, so I didn't know that's why.
It had a lot to do with the late start.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I don't want to take blame for it, believe me. No, there's a lot of people that really look forward to spring break, so.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Just make sure anybody from on the other side coming over. Yeah, it might not hurt.
So Matt, just real quick, on the original ordinance that when it's published, it did state that if no action was taken, then it would be expired as well, right?
That's
That-
correct.
Yeah, that wasn't noted on here,
Correct.
so.
Nobody over there, Celine? Thank you.
There's people over there.
Well, but,
No.
okay. What would the commission like to do on this?
Well, I want to make sure, and, I've had lots of emails and lots of calls and text messages, and of course, a couple of people on Messenger, which I'm really bad at, so. But I do want to say, I know we started this decision based on the number of hospitalizations I know there were several employers who really needed our help in making sure that they could protect. And it's all about keeping people at work and keeping young people in school. And I know, and I'm so grateful for the work of the Findlay County Health Department and really our community overall that they've done to really work on that. Hospitalizations are way down. I know that they have recently closed one of the floors. I mean, there's not been a lot of those. I'm really excited about the vaccine numbers, and that's why I'm trying to understand those numbers. And, you know, almost 10% of our population has been vaccinated, and I think one of our largest employers. So the reasons why I originally voted, or I really wanted the face covering ordinance, face covering requirement, was a lot of those reasons that we talked about. And those reasons no longer exist for me. So I want to make sure and just thank everybody for the great work they were doing. But with that, you know, I mean, I'm not in favor of continuing it. I do want to say, though, if we don't continue it, there's been a lot of, there's some words that I've never heard before about mask bullying or mask shaming. There are some people in our community that still are very vulnerable, and so people decide to wear a mask, or a business requires that mask. It's not that's still something that we need to honor and pay attention to. But with that said, I mean, I'm not willing to continue to the extension. So those are my thoughts.
I guess for me, I still am in favor of it, simply because we're not to the end of it yet. I mean, I think we're so close to the finish line, and with spring break coming up, with Easter coming up, I feel like for me, we need to see this through to the end. And I know the CDC is still recommending masks or face coverings, and our health department is still recommending face coverings. And so when my vote is, when I vote yes, or have voted yes in the past, it's simply been for the good of the whole, to make sure that our community is kept safe, to make sure that we're doing everything that we can in order to end this virus, and to make sure that we protect our community and protect each other. And so for those reasons, because the CDC is still recommending it, because our health department is still recommending it, and because we're still not quite to the end, I still am in favor of keeping it.
We all going through now?
I guess each commissioner is making
All
a
right,
comment, I guess, so, okay.
Well, to me, I think it's the difference. What we've been talking about is we've been having a health emergency, and what elevates to the level of an ordinance and making a law to do something. And during a health emergency, I think we all agree that or the majority of us agree that that's something that we should do. At this time, do we have a health emergency? I don't feel like we have enough belief in it, and part of that is because of all the work that we've done. In saying that still means we need to be wearing masks all the time. We need to be doing the washing your hands, social distancing, proper nutrition, and stuff like that. But does it come to the level of needing an ordinance to do that? I don't think we have that at this case. The other thing I want to say with that is if we do not, so if we don't have an ordinance, I do feel like when we're measuring data and we do start to see an uptick, remember how viruses work, it's exponential. We need to be able to call an emergency meeting right away and be willing to have a special meeting to say, no, we need to get this and do that. I mean, it looks like Commissioner Oler is saying, we're at the end of this. We don't want to let up too early, but at the same time, as a role as lawmakers, do we have enough evidence to make it a law right now? I don't feel like we have that emergency state.
Yeah, my position has always been not against masks. I mean, I was always for educating. So I think we should, everything I've read and everything that's been passed through me to me through email, it has been, here's this data sheet, here's this data sheet, here's this data sheet, either for or against. And just going through those, I think we're at the point now where nothing in those recommendations say that we need to put a requirement into effect or an ordinance or a mandate. I do suggest that we follow the guidelines that the CDC has put out, which is wear masks, stay 6 feet apart, because the thing I was more conscious about was the fact that we have police who are going out and trying to enforce this, which I don't think any tickets have been issued. So those constituents who are cooperating with the ordinance have been faithful, but I do believe those who were against the mask also were following that as well. So they did their part, and I think they helped out in everywhere they can. So I appreciate the fact that Bridget gave us some actions to take as far as some zinc and calcium that we can take and how we could take that. I asked that a month ago, or a month and a half ago, and we didn't seem to have that information given to us. So I just feel like we promised, when we put this into place, we promised that there would be an end, or we didn't promise, but we said there would be an end, but where is that end now? We said that we would relook at it when the numbers were down, when the numbers were in good standings, and here we are. But I do believe we should continue to wash our hands. We should, wear the mask if you want to, and then keep your distance. So I don't feel like we should put an ordinance in place or make this a law, for people or for citizens here in Garden City. We have great people in Garden City, and I don't want to take anything from them, and I'm sure none of us want to, say anything wrong to that, with regards to face shaming and things like that. So we just want to be good stewards and follow what we think is our best way that we can offer to keep each other safe.
I would like to point out, you say there hasn't been stuff, Commissioner, but if we've had some long-term studies now, and there has been 2 proven things that has reduced the number of cases in a community. The number one biggest thing that reduces the number of cases is a lockdown, and I hope we all want to avoid that.
Yeah.
And the second one that is proven to show a significant proven reduction is a mask ordinance. So to say that there's not really evidence or anything like that, I mean, there is documented research things that a mask ordinance does reduce the cases. And we have seen it here in Garden City. As soon as we put that in, you had that little span of time where you wouldn't expect the difference because it just happened. We drove all the way down. So I believe we do have evidence that masks and mask ordinance do work. So I just want to point that I think we do at least have scientific backgrounds to that. And then just one more thing. And I was looking with the hospitalization data. Since they've been tracking this specific thing, who's been hospitalized recently, it's only been unvaccinated people. So that's one other thing that we need to keep in mind is push those vaccines, because so far, and like we'd expect, the most severe cases now are the ones that are unvaccinated. So.
Did you have something
Well,
else,
the
Commissioner?
only thing I want to make sure is that, masks were not, I mean, I don't think anyone, even those who supported the face covering requirement, no one wanted, it's not something that any of us wanted to do.
Right.
But unfortunately, as, Commissioner Dick talked about, it was something that when the public health emergency rises to that, and our public health officials are telling us, along with several of our trusted sources, I mean, I get so many of those studies and thrown and emailed, but I'm looking toward our public health, our local officials. They're the people who have to live here and that we trust. So the thing about the mask, or face covering, no one wanted to do that. And I don't want to pretend like just because we put in a face covering requirement that any of us wanted to do that. But in order to really address an emergency, it was something that we felt rose to the level. And unfortunately, the county commission made the decision not to do something when they're the people who actually house the county health department. So we as a city, because we are the biggest entity in the city, we did have to step up and take leadership. And was it hard? Yes. And was there lots of backlash? Yes. But the thing about it is I don't think this has been easy for anyone. Have we worked together as Garden City? And there's a lot of people when you traveled around the state and they found out where we were from because of our number of COVID cases, a lot of the people didn't want us to come. And so, I mean, I think that we had to take drastic measures, and I think we've done that. But I do believe we're at that point where, again, at this point, it really is, we're down on all those levels, and I really appreciate the work that's been done by our community health department. So.
Well, and I think the reason why we're down on those levels is because we've had these safeguards in place, but at the same time, too, I think if we don't have this ordinance, then we start seeing a spike in cases, and we have to now say, well, no, the mask ordinance is back in effect. And, you know, I think about, you know, for continuity and just for consistency's sake, keeping it for a little while longer, just while we're through, you know, just to get through the forest, to get to the end, to make sure that, you know, when our health department does recommend, and CDC does recommend that enough of the population is vaccinated, or, you know, we've reached herd immunity, that yes, we are to the point where we can just, I'd like to burn the mask personally, but at the same time, I understand how important they are, so.
So again, if we take no action on this, it'll end at midnight tonight. Is that correct?
Correct.
Correct.
So we can either approve the extension, do not approve the extension, or do no action, or take no action, and it actually ends, sunsets at midnight. That answers Commissioner
Yeah.
Ortiz's question, just
Yeah,
so
it would be
everybody
not
knows.
approving it.
So what does body want to do on this?
I would rather have a motion than just let it go away.
I was just stating the various things, so.
So I have a question since we have Colleen here. I mean, you know, with this type of a virus, is it going to, I mean, are we ever going to totally get rid of this virus? I mean, it's not, is it like polio, or is it like or is it something that's gonna over time? I mean, because I don't really see, I hear Commissioner Euler and, you know, to the end of the thing, but I don't really see this as something that's gonna go away ever completely.
Sure, so, I mean, current belief is that COVID-19 potentially is gonna be around for the rest of our generations. We don't know to what extent. How are we looking at, you know, vaccines being approved for under 18? I mean, there's variables there, but what you are looking at is still, she referenced herd immunity. So looking at essentially at least 70% of the population, general adult population vaccinated, so then that reduces potential for transmission within your community. And so then it keeps lower numbers, active immunity, those types of things that will impact continued transmission.
What about those people who have had COVID-19? I mean, do they not have a natural immunity built up to that? And is that counted in those numbers? Or are we saying only people vaccinated? Because again, if you've had something happen like that, then you have a natural immunity to it.
Sure.
Are those numbers reflected in that or no?
It's unclear how long that natural immunity could potentially cover you for or protect you from transmitting or acquiring the virus again. So that piece is highly unclear of how long those antibodies, or if you have enough antibodies within your system to actively protect you from consistent exposure to COVID-19. So kind of looking at fully vaccinated antibodies, and then of course the more studies that can be done, the more we would understand what that will look like long term.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that information. I didn't.
Thank you. Somebody want to entertain a motion or on this particular item? Don't all speak at once. Or we could just move on and it would just sunset at midnight tonight.
No, I don't think the right move is to let it go. So I'll move to do not approve the 30-day extension to ordinance 2884, 2020.
I'll second.
There's been a motion to not approve the 30-day extension on ordinance 2884 by Commissioner Dick. There was a second by Commissioner Unruh. Any discussion on that item?
I would like to reiterate, if the commission is willing, if we start to see an uptick at anything, we need to get back and reconsider this, possibly during a special meeting, because waiting 2 weeks means you're waiting another 2 weeks for it to make a difference, which means we're a month behind on moving on something like this.
I think we'll cross that bridge when we get to that point. I mean, we do special meetings when things come up, so I think, you know, if that does happen, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Any other discussion on this item? None being, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Nay.
That was 4-1. That item passed. All right. Item
Item 12A was going to be your consideration of a contract with Delta Works, a consulting service to research public safety software, which would have included computer-aided dispatch and records management system for all the Finney County Emergency Services units. We're going to remove this item and rework it. We were notified by Finney County that they won't be pursuing this partnership with us, so we're going to probably gauge the level of interest still with the city of Holcomb, and then based on that information, we'll get back with all the vendors, because part of, I think, the choice behind Delta Works was the ability to take in all the complexities of all those different service agencies, and so that may change if we're just basically doing PD, fire, courts, and it's a little bit more in-house. So that issue hasn't gone away. It's just definitely been retooled, since we won't be looking at as broad of a partnership or a partnership at all, depending on what the level of interest with the city of Holcomb is. So.
Okay.
Item 12B, the governing body is asked to consider and approve a request for proposals on 2 new 2021 or newer custom brush trucks with walkway for the fire department. Jennifer.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. So the 2 items that are before you, as you can see in your memo, I did struggle through this a bit, trying to understand exactly what it was that we were doing and what exactly was it we were needing. There is a committee within the fire department that does truck equipment and apparatus stuff related to both stations, and so when this was sort of being worked on by Chief Beatty before he left, and so I picked this up, started working with the truck committee, and realized that although we were pretty far down the road with one particular vendor, this was something that needed to actually go out in a formal RFP process, and that we needed 3 bids on. I don't know for sure that we'll have 2 other companies that submit bids for this, but there are other companies that do this. It's not a sole source. And so I did have the fire department staff put together the RFP. The committee that does the truck and apparatus, they put all the specifications together for this particular truck. And so this will allow it to go out and allow us to get bids. We do have the funding source obviously figured out and have that set up already. And so once we get the bids, we'd be able to move down on the road. But what this essentially does is we cover about 1,302 miles around the county and outside the county. We are mutual aid or automatic aid, whatever you want to call it, for a lot of areas outside of Garden City. And so a lot of that, as you can imagine, is grass. Right now what we use is a regular pickup truck with a device attached to it that only can carry about 200 gallons of water. This would double the amount of water that we can carry per truck. And it also would allow us to take a full crew. So a full crew is 3 to 4 firefighters to a scene. So instead of what we can take now, which is 2, we'd be able to take as many as we needed. That way, if we went out to a grass fire and we fought it, we'd be able to go directly to another fire without any problem. And so these trucks are very valuable. We still can use the 2 older ones. It's just that these will much benefit farm fires, grass fires, the things that happen out in the county.
Entertain a motion on this item.
I move that we approve the request for proposal for the 2 2021 or newer custom brush trucks with walkways.
There's been a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Euler. Any discussion on this item? None being, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Passed. Thank you.
We're ready for the consent agenda. There's 2 items on there, so if nobody wants to remove one of them, the appropriate motion would be to approve consent agenda items C1 and 2.
Mayor, I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda for items C1 and C2.
There's been a motion by Commissioner Ortiz. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Commissioner Dick. Any discussion on that item? None being, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. That item passed. Nothing else that on the agenda, so commission reports. We'll start with Commissioner Ortiz.
Okay, yeah, so congratulations to Chief Utes again, that was on my agenda, but, yes, there's been some humbling words said today, and we greatly appreciate his service. Also just like to let everyone know that spring cleanup is March 29th through April 9th, so if that's not on your calendar, that's a great way to keep your neighborhood looking clean and get rid of some junk that you have. I got junk in my backyard, so it's piling up. So I get that out on the curb, and the city's been great to take that out off my hands. So appreciate all of their help and work doing that. I also just like to thank the IT for getting the information out. The city website is awesome for getting information. So I kind of go to that website and I share a lot of those posts, and people are sharing it from my posts. So it's a great tool to just spread that information, and so I give great thanks to the IT department for doing that. So that's all I got.
Commissioner Euler.
Well, I was going to add up all the years of service that they're retiring, but then I was like, no, that's a lot. So, but at the same time, I mean, it's kind of impressive to see that we have, employees, as many employees as the city has with tenure like that. I mean, it's a great testament to just, how good of an employer the city is. And it's also nice to know that they feel valued and that they feel like what they do matters, and it really does matter. And so congratulations to those who are retiring. And then also 8th Street, it's kind of fun to see the construction going on there. And I know that's a project that's been in planning for many, many years. And so I know if you're a business owner along there, I do think it's great that the city did make accommodations so that you can still access those businesses along 8th Street. And so thank you for doing that. And that's all I have.
Commissioner Dick?
Ted, I'd like to remind the general population and businesses that just because there's not an ordinance doesn't mean people aren't supposed to wear masks still. Before we had a city ordinance, we were about 70 to 80% of people wearing masks inside stores. I'm the nerd that actually count people when I'm walking around. But I mean, we're talking Dillon's, we're talking Home Depot and stuff like that. So we were already about 70, 80% compliance. And there still will be businesses and buildings that you go into that will require masks. And that's completely fine and should be encouraged for those businesses to take that initiative. Again, thanks to Chief Utes. The stuff that he has done for the city has been amazing and will be looked to for other cities on how to inclusively police and make strides in that way. I mean, you can just see it already with some of the literature where we're going to be looked at as an example for years to come because of what he has done with that. I'd also like to take a second to thank Jennifer Cunningham for all that she did over this last month. It's been a little bit, but while Matt was out of the office, managing her emergencies, managing other emergencies, she did a ton of work, and I know the staff picked up a lot of that slack too, but she did a very, very good job with all the work that she did then. So make sure I don't know what she likes, buy her I was gonna say a bottle of water is all I ever see her drink. Maybe something that she likes when you see her. She did a great job. And then also enjoy our weather with the snow tomorrow and the great sun we're gonna have on this weekend. Make sure you get out and enjoy what we have. Go check out the zoo. Thank you.
Thanks. Commissioner Enright.
So I thank you for letting me break in when Chief Utes was here. He had a lot of people here who were supporting him, and I hated to keep them here longer, but I also wanted to make sure that they were able to hear some of our thank yous and some of our thoughts. As I said, Chief Utes is, I first met him, I was on a jury on the trial, and he came in undercover, and I was like, he looked like he was homeless. And I couldn't believe all the stuff he was doing, and he was brought undercover and all these kind of things. So it was kind of exciting. But, watched his career all these years, and, having a chief retire, especially one who's as accomplished as Chief Utes, it's a big deal for the city. As I said, the Explorers Club is something I know a lot of young people. My son, Drew, is just sworn in as one of the, I always get it wrong, PSAs, I won't say, personal service aid. And so, and Chief Utes, that was one of his projects that he cared a lot about. But I'll tell you, growing young people in our community, it makes a difference. You know, a lot of people think they're our future. No, they're our right now. They're really important. Also, Sergeant Paul Pauley, you know, what an incredible career. As Commissioner Whirler said, I was gonna add up, but that's a lot of numbers, and I didn't want to take my phone out. But you know, with his retirement, but also I think, you know, with Rick Collins, you know, there are people who have cared for us as a city and a community for many, many years, and so the day it's a small tribute to them, but I'll tell you, there's a lot of honor at that. I love that Commissioner Ortiz mentioned spring cleanup, and so that is a great time. There is an upcoming weather event. I'm so grateful that it's not the spring, the cold that we went through in February, because we do not need any more bills like that. I did want to say, just be careful, you know, just when tornadoes or hail are mentioned, that doesn't mean you go outside. It means instead, if you have a basement, use a basement. But I also want you to check, there are different shelters around town that you need to make sure that we know where their shelters are, because if there's tornadoes, there are places in our community that do not have basements. So please, in Amarillo in Texas, there were some recent tornadoes, and I mean, it's predicted for this storm. Please do not go outside. Instead, seek shelter, or, you know, find people that you can seek shelter with. And so any of us would be willing to open our home. I do want to also just talk about, there's a Outrun Childhood Obesity. So for commissioners, yesterday was the cheapest day you could sign up, you know, to get their lower rate. But for those commissioners who want to meet me there, I would love to have you. We can walk or run. We can do either. But I'll tell you, it's one of the incredible events that the Garden City Recreation Commission did. The funds go for young people to actually put on different camps and different active opportunities and good nutrition. So I would encourage any of us to take advantage of these runs. I'll tell you, if you don't attend them, and it's not about the winning or losing, unless Commissioner Ortiz runs, then it is about that.
Yeah.
But it is really, it's about this idea of really supporting those things so that there's activities in our community. So I just wanted to make sure and tell you that there are a lot of really neat things coming up, and if we support them in our community, it's going to make all that difference. That's it.
Yeah, good meeting today, especially when I got the agenda. It was like all the proclamations, and I'd like to thank Matt for helping me out and you know, in the reading of all the proclamations. And it's true. Get out and support you know, those that are intellectually and development disabilities. Those people are citizens in our community as well. Let's recognize them during this month. Also, the gas utility workers, you know, all utility workers, especially when they're out in weather events, trying to keep your electricity, natural gas, other vital utilities going, and first responders as well in our community. You know, they're out there trying to keep our community up and running. So just for the, especially the gas workers on March 18th. And then, as all of the other commissioners mentioned, all of the employees that are retiring and all the, I actually started calculating, and I quit in between the readings and everything because the number was starting to get really big, but it really does show we have a...
It's 94 years.
Yeah.
94 years.
Yeah. But again, it just shows that we have a great organization to work for. People, you know, don't stick around that long to don't really stick around that long in organizations if you don't have a great organization, and especially that many years. So again, I wish all of the people that are retiring good luck in their new journey in life, and I wish them well. Again, the other commissioners talked about the other events taking place. You know, a special event in the community that not all other communities have is we have a fall and spring cleanup, and that's something that just keeps our community nice looking, and it really makes our community unique. So please take advantage of that. I've kind of noticed that people are already starting to get items out on their curbs and everything, but again, that's a little bit later in the month, and it'll go through the first part of April. So like Commissioner Ortiz said, just check out the website, Facebook, those types of sites, and get that information. Really exciting, and I know, like I said earlier, that the kids are just really excited about the new aquatics facility. I was pointing it out, and I was telling him about the slides and the lazy river and, you know, the diving boards, and man, they were just like, can we go today? And it's like, well, no, it's not done yet, but just wait. This summer, you'll experience something really great that's will be another crown jewel in our community.
You might let
So-
them know there's no elevator, because I was asked by someone if there's an elevator.
Okay. Good to know. But again, check out the like they were saying, check out the site. I check it out every morning just to see how it's progressing and moving. And like he said, they had one slide up one day, and they started putting a slide up the next day, and it's like, wow, this is getting really exciting. So a lot of great things happening in our community, and like the airport terminal, and just showing us that. You know, Garden City is really a great place to work, live, and definitely raise a family. And again, you know, somebody asked me about, just wrapping up, about the mask ordinance. If it did go away, I was telling them too, like Commissioner Dick said, other organizations do have their policies in place, so please be mindful of, you know, those organizations' policies. And if they require a mask, please follow their policy to stay safe and healthy in our community. And on that, if nobody else has anything else, I call this meeting adjourned.